I mean, these paintings, there are not that many Vermeer paintings. There are only about 35. And yet each has such a distinctive character that you do remember it. Once you see a Vermeer, that gets inside you. It sort of holds you tight, and you never forget it.
Just like every great artist, Vermeer started with a bit of an experimental phase. There is no better painting to look at than Christ in the house of Mary and Martha. Of all things, this painting is his departure from what would soon become his defining style, while simultaneously foreshadowing the techniques that he would use. Simply put, this painting lacks an attention to detail and texture in the environment that Vermeer's later works seem to focus so heavily on. The rug looks merely like a plane of color, with no variation or texture at all. Moving to the table, the basket and the bread it holds are unclear, undefined, and merely resemble smooth strokes of color with no character. His focus may remain on the figures of the painting, but the core tenets of Vermeer's work are clearly visible. A very specific focus on space, light, and shadow. The subtle highlights present on the chair that Christ sits on and on this stool over here project the painting forward, as well as the beautifully depicted folds of Mary's skirt. The shadow that Martha's arm projects onto the table suggests her distance from it, while leaving the viewer wondering if she is bowing down or simply serving bread. There is no doubt that this is a masterfully crafted painting, that everything from its subject matter to his techniques in applying the paint seems so unlike Vermeer, considering what we know him for now. The next painting, however, serves almost like a transition from this style to his more famous one. The Procuress. Let's address the elephant in the room first. That creepy man in the corner with that strange-looking hand, that's Vermeer himself. You know, I'm not entirely sure why he painted himself like that, but at least now you know what that is. It's in this painting that you can see Vermeer's truly defining techniques begin to emerge. The thick impasto used on the vase to convey a sense of texture that was lacking before is just one example of this. Most important of all, however, is the shift in subject matter from historical paintings, such as the one we saw earlier depicting a biblical scene, to genre paintings, which depict daily life and would be the style of painting that Vermeer is most known for today. This painting marks the beginning of a shift in Vermeer's style, a shift that would define Vermeer and his work. This period, where Vermeer created some of his most famous works, is exemplified by the subtle, natural evocations of light and shadow on figures and objects firmly planted within the confines of carefully constructed spaces. These 5 works, A Girl Asleep, Girl Reading a Letter at an Open Window, The Milkmaid, The Soldier with a Laughing Girl, and The Glass of Wine, all play with perspective and light in ways that Vermeer would be most known for. You have the receding tiles that indicate depth in space, or the way the light floods through the room, or the noticeable texture in the basket of the milkmaid, which starkly contrasts with his earlier works. All of these things demonstrate a marked change in Vermeer's style. It is in these paintings that one can note what would later become an essential technique for Vermeer, the application of tiny dots of paint, called pointillés, to lend objects texture or provide more realism. Look at the soldier with a laughing girl, and the unfocused motifs such as the lion head, the hands, or the wine glass. Perhaps the most stark difference is noticed in Girl Reading Letter, where the rug just looks so much more textured and varied than his previous works. No one can mention this phase of Vermeer's work without talking about the Pearl series that contains the famous Girl with the Pearl Earring. This series, dominated by silvery tones, is stunning in its simple execution. All the contours of this small canvas are created with delicately modulated tones of paint in place of outlines. Even the bridge of the young woman's nose is delineated not by a line, but by a subtle, barely perceptible application of impasto. The edge of the nose is not even distinguishable from the right cheek. The two features simply blend together, creating a beautiful yet subtle effect on the viewer. In contrast to his previous works, this painting is all about simplicity. The blue cloth wrapped around her head reduced down to 2 shades, or the yellow garment with its broad brushstrokes. And yet, Vermeer's mastery of light is still present. Look at the highlights on the girl's earring or near her lips. This painting is masterful in its simple beauty and realism. naturally drawing your eye and causing you to reflect on its colors and subject. These are the features that define Vermeer's middle period. Simple subjects depicted with vibrant colors and attention to the beautiful features of light. Yet again, Vermeer changes his style. Light becomes crisp, sharp, and defined, with clean lines and geometric shapes taking center stage. Look at the dress of this woman in the love letter. It is so clearly cut out by shadows and light. Texture is abandoned in favor of clean divisions of light and dark. There is an abstraction of form, instead of the refinement of it as present in his earlier works. These last paintings that Vermeer created, although different in technique and subject matter, share the one essential quality of Vermeer's work that differentiates them from other painters of the time: a focus on the little daily moments of someone's life, rather than grand historical scenes. Vermeer's work is so captivating because it is a glimpse into the usual instead of the unusual, a glimpse into moments that many would consider meaningless, and yet ones that Vermeer considers worthy of being immortalized in the form of a painting. Master of simplicity, master of realism, light, texture, the everyday. Vermeer's work captivates us because we want to know the why he dedicated so much time to a woman pouring milk, or another standing by the window. We are enchanted by their secrecy, their enigmatic nature, and that's exactly what draws us further and further in.